All right, everybody, welcome to episode 9 of Unwinding with Support Group. I am Arlene. I'm an LPC, and as usual, I have Bree with me. She also works in the mental health field. I am drinking Seagram's Escape tonight, the Jamaican me style, you know, with, let's see, it has guava and orange flavors. So, Bree, what are you drinking on tonight?
I'm drinking just a plain old signature simply spiked limeade. No flavor today, just straight limeade.
Just straight limeade.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. All right, today's topic is mental health stigma. So, really, I don't really feel like I need to introduce that one since we all sort of know what that is. Leaves us free to kind of talk about this in any way, shape, or form. Any thoughts on where you'd like to go? Otherwise, Bree, I will throw it out.
Um, Other than it's stupid, I don't think I have anywhere else to go. What are you thinking, Eileen?
I mean, I also agree it's stupid. Um, I also think we're in a very interesting moment when it comes to mental health stigma. Um, I think if I look historically, um, we had been coming a long way, and I still think in some ways we have, um, in some areas, right? I think if you look at in some areas like men, especially like younger generations of men, are more open, they're more willing to talk about emotions and go to therapy and like discuss these things and the stigma around them, being anything other than manly men and angry and, you know, expressing anything other than anger or happiness is kind of gone. Um, I said for the most part, it's not gone all the way. But we've lost some of it somewhere along the way with substance use, right? We tend to see people with substance abuse problems more as people who need help now and not like the dredges of society. These things, like I felt like we were making good progress on mental health in general. And I feel like we're at a place now that like parts of the world still or our world is still kind of moving forward and now parts of it are not. And so I feel like we're at this weird place of like there is starting to be more stigma now or trying to be more stigma now when we had been making some decent strides on eliminating it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, fortunately, those that are mentally ill aren't demonized to the same extent that they used to be. They're not locked away for the rest of their lives and, subjected to torture just because they're sick. I know we've seen a lot of that kind of change and get better. I think at the same time, even how you mentioned a little bit about substance is not seen quite as demonized. I don't know if I totally agree with that. Maybe it's just where I'm currently working and kind of what I experience on a regular basis. But even within the mental health community in general, like I still think substance use it's kind of thrown at the bottom. Like it all starts with a choice, right? Is what a lot of people think. And even if maybe it does, it doesn't mean that it stays as a choice. And a lot of people who are struggling with substance abuse are still demonized and are still treated as just the problem. And maybe again, it's also part of where I live. I live in an area that is severely affected by fentanyl and methamphetamines and has taken a real toll on the community. Um, so anytime I kind of go to work, I'll even telling people where I work, it's kind of like I get kind of like a side eye of like, why would you work with that population of people, you know? Going back to this idea that it's somehow a choice. And maybe in parts of a way it is, but there's so much more to it than just a choice.
I agree. Which I think is crazy is that what you're experiencing, that even that is progress from where it was,
Hmm.
which is sad, right? Like it's sad because like I recognize that the war on drugs is still a thing. Which if we're gonna count a winner and a loser in the war on drugs, we could just say that the drugs have won the war on drugs.
Oh, absolutely. They
Um,
won a long time ago.
it won a long time ago. Um, I mean, like they won so long ago. We're just like beating a dead horse at this time. But the fact that there are places like where you work, that's progress. That wasn't a thing. Like, I still think you're right with substance use. We have a long ways to go, or with addiction in general, because you're right. There is that piece of like, it's a choice. Whether we're talking about substances, alcohol, gambling, porn, sex, people view them in a way. Um, Without identifying the addictive part that does become out of their control. Um, so I do agree. We have lots of places to go. Um, I will actually tell you one of the biggest places I think that we still have like the hardest time with stigma is with the unhoused population.
Yep. I
Um,
would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Not everybody in that community struggles with a mental health condition, but giant swaths of them do. They don't have access. There's limited resources. Um, the
And the
town
resources
next,
that they do have are not always that safe.
correct. Um, One of my previous jobs was community mental health, which, you know, God bless all the people in community mental health. Um, but really recognizing that the amount of barriers that exist for the unhoused is insane. So what is one of the prime things that people say to people who are homeless?
Just get a job.
All right, what do you need to get a job, Bree?
You need clean clothing, you need a house, you need an alarm clock to make sure you're up that day. You need a phone so that your boss can call you. You need a shower regularly and a good shower, maybe some new shoes, possibly some deodorant. Most people like that when you wear that to work. There's a lot of things you need for a job.
One of the most basic things every application asks for is an address. And because
Yep.
almost every application now is filled out online, you cannot leave it blank.
Hmm.
If
And you
you
can't put
don't
a
have,
shelter down because then if they Google it and see that you're in the shelter, well, they won't hire you then.
right. So the biggest barrier to getting employment when you're unhoused is the fact that you're unhoused. You
I
can't
think it,
just get a job.
I think people really underestimate how expensive it is to get a job.
Hmm.
I had this conversation with somebody recently about just what goes into it that we don't really think of most of the time when we're searching for employment because we're either currently employed or we're recently coming off of a job. So maybe we still got some money in the bank, or maybe we're on unemployment. Whatever the case is, there's a lot of money that goes into it. Getting to and from an interview, making sure, even if it's a virtual interview, making sure you have solid internet. You don't want to be in a library doing a job interview. That's not going to be a good look. Uh,
No,
a lot of those things, like, they add up. You got to have nice clothing. You can't go to a job interview in sweatpants. That would just be ridiculous.
right. Like you're hitting on all things that are legitimate things that can be barriers. We haven't even hit on transportation.
Mm-hmm. You gonna rely on the bus?
Okay, if you do, you have to have a bus pass.
You have to live in an area with a bus.
Right. So like if that's a thing, you have to live in an accessible area with the bus and you have to pay for a bus pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like all of these things are very real. So the idea of like just go get a job, yeah, okay.
I also
Also,
think a lot of people don't realize how many unhoused people might actually be working and just not make enough money to survive on their own.
well, and I haven't even and that's a solid point that we hadn't even gotten to. Right. So the town next to me has a giant unhoused population. It's huge. And one of the significant reasons is there's no housing, affordable housing, I should say, for the population that lives in the area. And because it's not affordable housing, the people also cannot afford to move because they can barely afford to live where they're at. Like that's a thing, right? Like, and then let's go even another step further. What if you get picked up by the police for being homeless? In a lot of areas, that's a crime.
Unauthorized camping.
Now you have a record. Now you have to deal with that, which is more money that you don't have, and another barrier to employment. Like they just keep adding up.
But it's so easy. You just go get a job.
Just go get a job. But honestly, I believe of all the like populations with mental health involved, the unhoused population, it like gets hit the hardest.
Absolutely. At my job, a lot of our clients are unhoused or very close to it. And even though substance plays a part in that, they the substance doesn't always come first. Sometimes the substance comes after because it's trying to deal with the fact that you're now unhoused and living this life that you never saw yourself living, and you have to do things to survive, and whatever that might look like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just the attitudes towards those who are unhoused, even by the police, especially by the police, I should say, of not really helping the situation, only further entrenching them in this life of being an unhoused person and having a record for something as silly as unauthorized camping. I still can't even believe that's a crime. Um,
Unauthorized camping. You
Unauthorized camping. I don't know
want to
how
know
else.
what's crazy about the unauthorized camping?
What's that?
They confiscate all of their belongings and don't give them back.
Yep. Including things like IDs. I just recently had a situation in which a client's ID, who he had just gotten 2 days prior to his encounter with the police, 2 days he had an ID after struggling to get an ID for years Because if you recall, in order to get an ID, you need a birth certificate, you need a social security card, you need a proof of address. All of those things in which this individual did not have because he had been unhoused for so long and incarcerated for so long. The police stole his ID and lost it. They have no idea where this ID went. Absolutely no clue. And you know the one thing this individual asked the police when he was being arrested? Please don't lose my ID.
That sounds accurate. Yeah. So oftentimes they take all your belongings and they don't return them. Birth certificates, documents like people lose, they just never see them again. That happens all the time when people are arrested. Like his story, as fucked up as that is normal.
Yep, it's not unique.
So here we are, back to basics. Now we got to do it again. And this time we probably have to get a social security card again and a birth certificate and do the whole rigmarole all over again. And you know what? All of that costs money.
Mm-hmm. And if you recall too, certain things like social security cards, you can only get so many. There is a limit. If you
There is.
start losing them too many times, you're not going to get another one. And
Yeah.
if you do, it is not an easy process to go through.
No. No, it is not. You are 100% accurate. What is another population you think that is also still struggling with stigma?
Those who struggle with psychosis,
It's a good one.
not a pretty one, you know? It's not it's not one that you look at and think like, "Oh, that's bad, but like I can be around this person." A lot of people in active psychosis, it's scary. And not to say that it's not scary, but it's also scary for that individual. And to be ostracized even from the mental health struggles that exist, it's not, I don't know, a Demi Lovato sort of situation where she's famous and she's pretty and she's just struggled with drug addiction, but it's scary and it can really change the way a person looks, and it may no longer be just a pretty unfortunate mental health disorder. It's something that's ugly and scary and raw and very real.
It's very true. And whatever, I'm just going to say it. Not every mental health professional is equipped.
No, definitely not. Which is okay. I
It
also
is
don't
okay.
think everybody should be equipped to handle these things because they are scary and they're very real and they're somebody's livelihood. It's not something that anybody should just be able to step into the field and be able to do.
No, but I think for, people seeking help and for people delivering help, like if you're the mental health person, like know your limits, like know if that's like something you can do. And for someone seeking help, like know whether or not your person is that person and or find someone who is, right? I mean, this is why generally people in active psychosis are referred straight to the hospital because there, people who work in psych wards or the psych unit, that's like Tuesday. It's a little more normal for them. Less jarring, less scary for the provider. But you're not incorrect in that the stigma around psychosis still exists because people don't know what to do with it. For sure.
I don't know what to do with it either. I get it, but
I get it, but somebody should know what to do with it.
somebody's got to figure it out.
Somebody figure this out. It's not me, but somebody. Somebody better do some shit with this. One, two,
Best
three,
I
not
can
it,
do,
but somebody.
best I can do is ask somebody else.
That's funny. You know who I was thinking still receives stigma?
Who's that?
So, so borderline personality disorder.
Ah, yes. That is very fair. I think especially now that I don't want to say it's more common because I'm sure it's like one of those things that's always been common. It's just been undiagnosed.
More people are
Um,
more aware of it.
I think that's maybe the word I'm looking for, more aware that this is a thing and demonizing those who are struggling with it.
Yeah. And I think there's that part where, like you talked about with psychosis, that it's scary for the people around, just like it's scary for the person struggling. With BPD, like that emotional instability and the up and down and the relationship instability, as well as the chronic suicidality, like that's a lot for both people.
Yes. Well, and I think for those with borderline, they're much more likely to be more aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
I think sometimes those in psychosis, especially severe psychosis, they've they're not as aware of what's happening as, or at least in my experience, I could be totally off base here, but um, those with borderline are sometimes very aware of what's going on and they just can't control it. And I couldn't
No, you're
imagine how scary that would be.
no, they're very aware of like behaviorally what's going on, but like at least until diagnosis happens, very like, I don't know why it's happening. Like, why does it always feel like everybody's gonna leave me?
Hmm.
Like, why do I always feel like I want to die? Like those things are very much like I don't understand, but this is always how I feel. That emotional reactivity is very intense, but it doesn't always make sense until somebody's like, "Hey, this is what it is." Um, but you're right. There's at least awareness of the what it is, like what's happening. Um, oh, this one brings up another. You know how much I can't stand the random use of mental health terms in society.
Of course.
It's like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. Like we started an entire episode on narcissism and gaslighting because of it, but it's fine. Uh, um, bipolar.
Oh, don't get me started.
How many times in casual conversation have you heard someone say, "Oh, she's just bipolar"? It's a lot because someone has like some mood swings or they're happy or they're sad or like whatever. Like it gets said a lot.
And it's such like a not nice thing to say either. It's not like when it's said, it's not said as like a joke most of the time. It's said in a way of like, well, a joke, but a joke that's intended to hurt you. It's a bad thing to be bipolar. It's a bad thing to go through these mood swings and have these whatever random ups and downs. It's another thing that's just demonized.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily know if people always recognize, right? That like that's how it comes across and that's how it's being said. Um, I'm sure some people do. I'm not sure everybody does. but to use a mental health diagnosis that someone lives their life with, trying to routinely manage significant mood swings to describe someone who's having a fucking bad day is fucking demeaning and
To
doesn't necessarily,
everybody involved.
right, like it doesn't feel good. It's not like, hey, you know? Uh, so it's one of those, like, it's a weird one. Oh, she's just bipolar. Hmm. Is she though?
Or is it just a bad day?
Yeah. Or does she have a lot of them? Listen, she might be bipolar. I don't know. But also, why are we saying it like that?
That's my question. Why are we saying it like that? I couldn't imagine somebody saying it in any way that's not demeaning, just because it's like it's such a brush off. Kind of like just the way you said it, even like, oh, she's just bipolar. Like, don't even pay attention to her.
Yeah, because that's always how it's said, right? You might as just well said she's hysterical. Don't even listen to her. Like really, or him, fill in the blank with a gender
Mhm.
assignment. But you
Let's be
might as
real, it's mostly said about women.
it is. It is. But just something you might as well just have said hysterical instead. Right? Like, oh, she's just emotional. Which is really what you're trying to say. Let's be honest. She's just emotional.
Which again is seen as such a bad thing, as if that's not one of the things that is so unique about being a human, is we have these big, huge, scary emotions sometimes, and that's what makes us a unique species.
Oh, see, now you're going and getting crazy ideas like we should be having emotions and stuff.
Settle down there, lady.
Calm down over there. Settle
that,
down. Uh,
that youngin' thinking,
we have feelings, we talk about them. Crazy. These kids these days, and they're thinking about talking about their feelings.
You and your safe space.
Oh, we got a safe space. Oh, jeez. I would hope so. I would hope everybody has a safe space.
Everybody deserves a safe space. At least
Right.
one.
Right. Whether it's your home, your room, your car, I don't know, your bed. Have a safe space, please. Make one. Everybody needs a safe space.
Make two while you're at it.
Listen, whether it's your closet,
That's mine.
no, it is. Free safe space is my closet. 'Cause that's where you almost always find her.
I've grown. I'm in the living room now some days.
Oh, we have a new safe space, the living room and the closet.
Yep, right on the couch.
Woo! Uh, but like that's important. I'm I think I've intentionally at this up to this point at least stayed away from uh the autism conversation, but I'm not gonna anymore. At this point, there's always been stigma around autism.
Yes.
Um, and it's come in a variety of different ways. Um, there's how people describe autism, how people interact with people with autism. Um, And then we will move into like what is a little more harmful, um, which for me was always the anti-vax movement.
Mm.
And I mean that like this. I'm not going to get a vaccine for my child because it will cause autism, as if the idea of having a child with autism is such a horrible thing.
You'd rather your child risk being dead than have a child who might be on the spectrum.
To me, that is such like a harmful thing around the concept of autism. Now, I know that that is like inherently incorrect logic, and I cannot express that enough how scientifically inaccurate that information is. But it's the concept that a child with autism is so inherently wrong, bad, pick a word, um, that you would rather risk a disease instead. Um, and that level of stigma, that's like heartbreaking because we're literally talking about children uh, who grow up to be adults. But when you're talking about vaccines, you're discussing children. Um, and over time, that stigma has clearly grown to where we are today, um, and how that's being approached. And that's the part where I think it's when we talk about stigma and how damaging it can actually be to people, because there are people who live with autism and live perfectly wonderful lives.
Very happy, fulfilled lives.
And that is like, I don't understand. Like, I guess I'll never understand that concept of like why you would fear something and stigmatize it to a level that it's dangerous like that. And I say this as a parent of a special needs child who spends half my life in the special needs world. So for me, I've never been like, how do you look at any of these kids and go, yeah, there's something like horrible about these kids?
They're still just little kids.
They are. And almost usually the happiest bunch of kids I've ever fucking been around.
Man,
Mm, mm. I mean, not always. My kids are shit. But, overall, he's a happy kid.
there's no kids that aren't shit sometimes. That's
I
part of being a kid.
but you know what I meant. I think that's the shittiest part about mental health stigma is like it has a real human impact. Like you might make offhanded comments like, "Oh, she's so bipolar. Oh, I'm so OCD." Girl, you just like your shit organized. You like it. That is not OCD. Stop. There's a real human impact to this. Like when you're using terms like that, and it's the long-term effect can be harsh.
And irreversible.
Yeah. Yeah, sure can be. And that's just rough. All right. Where do we think stigma has lessened the most? Let's end there. Where do we think it has decreased in the mental health community? Like, who's got it great? Who's got it best now? We've talked about
That's
who's
a
got it
great,
worse. Who's got it best?
that's a good question. I don't know if I mean, I'd say like if I had to choose, maybe just the general depression and anxiety because everybody's a little depressed and anxious these days. Whether you can recognize it as depression or anxiety or not, it's there. But
I
that feels
think
like a cop out.
no, because I think there's you're right, and I'm gonna add one. PTSD.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
Everybody's just so traumatized. It's becoming
Everybody
normal.
is anxious, depressed, and traumatized. So we can't have stigma when we all have it. But I will tell you with the anxiety and depression, I think you want to know what I think really broke that one?
What's that?
Man,
The what?
COVID.
Oh, yeah.
I think COVID really broke all the stigma on depression and anxiety.
COVID did one thing for us. It was that, huh?
I think it did because it gave everybody anxiety or depression.
Mm, yeah,
Did you have a twinge of anxiety going into it? Guess what? You came out all the way anxious.
you're all the way fucked up now. Good job.
Were you feeling okay before COVID? Oh, spent all your time alone. Now you're depressed. Mhm. Like we all like I really think that's really what did it.
I would agree with that. Yeah, because everybody kind of did have this universal feeling of fear and isolation. You were forced into isolation, but isolation nonetheless.
Yeah.
And everybody went through it at the same time,
Yeah.
which is an interesting thing that's really never happened before.
No. But yeah. So I think that it broke the stigma for depression and anxiety. So
Part of me thought you were going to say TikTok.
no, TikTok is its own mental health problem.
Oh, TikTok.
Mm,
I'm scared of TikTok still. Won't download it. Can't have a place on my phone.
yeah, TikTok is its own mental health problem. And the systematic ruin of the attention span.
Ooh, it's bad. Just the reels in general, because you can't get away from it. It's on everything. If you're on social media, it's there.
Yeah. If it's not 10 seconds, screw it. I'm not. If you can't get me in 10 seconds, I'm over.
Next,
Exactly. That's where we're at now.
scary place to be.
Concur. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you hanging out as always.
Of course, anytime.
I hope everybody else enjoyed our conversation on mental health stigma and, being able to identify. You should probably stop using some of these words to describe people. I don't know, just maybe, possibly. I don't know. Use some other words. Expand your vocabulary. It'll be great, I promise.
It's my favorite thing to do is use random words.
Exactly. It'll be fun. Just come up with another word. There's a cornucopia of words you can use. All right. And on that random fucking note, thanks for hanging out, Bree.
Of course.
All right. Hopefully everybody has a good night or a good day or whenever you listen to this, and we shall see you next time.
Bye.